Okay, now let's continue to take a look at how to calculate the confidence interval. So for a 90% confidence interval, let's plug in the numbers into the formula. We will have y1 bar minus y2 bar plus or minus the t critical value times the square root of s1 squared over n1 plus s2 squared over n2. So the thing that's left unknown is this t star value. Now let's take a look at how we could find it. Draw this graph here. T distribution with degrees of freedom equals to n1 plus n2 minus 2, the same degrees of freedom that we have seen in the hypothesis test, so 18. Now we are trying to find a 95% confidence interval. That means the area under the curve in between is 95%. So the area to the left of it is 0.025. The area to the right of it is 0.025. So we are looking for 2.5 percentile or 97.5 percentile. Now if you go back to the table or the StatCrunch, you will find this value equals to 2.1. Now to calculate all those, you will have your confidence interval equals to 0.54 minus 0.27 and 0.54 plus 0.27, and this is 0.27 and 0.81. So to interpret this confidence interval, we say we believe the average potency for newly produced what means is somewhere between 0.27 and 0.81 units more than the average potency for what means being stored for a year. So that's the end of this question. There is one more thing that I would like to mention, because I've always been asked from students that is it okay if we use mu1 minus mu2 less than 0, we use mu1 to denote the stored, the old value, and we use mu2 to denote the new value. The answer is it doesn't matter. I have mentioned this in the lecture before. So which group, which is group 1 and which is group 2. Doesn't matter. If we use mu1 minus mu2 to denote the stored old vitamin minus the new vitamin, you could do the same hypothesis test. So it's just going to be like this. So you see the only difference is you are using a less than 0 sign instead of a greater than 0 sign here. So you're going to calculate the test statistic. It's going to be the same, but just the opposite sign. So your test statistic will be negative 4.27. Then since you are having less than equal to study test, so the p-value when you want to calculate it is going to be t less or equal to the test statistic you calculated. Then if you find the p-value, it will be the same p-value as the previous p-value, 0.00023, because it's symmetric. It's going to be exact the same thing. So with this p-value, you are still going to reject your null hypothesis, and you are going to have the same conclusion here as well. Similarly, for the confidence interval, if you do it, you just are going to switch on the sign. So your confidence interval will be this. And again, since your mu1 minus mu2 denotes stored vitamin minus the new vitamin, you are going to have the same conclusion as well. So it doesn't matter which group you use as group 1 or which group you use as group 2, as long as you are consistent throughout the question, and the sign doesn't really matter. Again, as long as you're consistent. Okay, so that's what I need to say about the lecture notes. You have a discussion board question, regarding the and some exercise of this two group inference. I'm not going to talk about the solutions here again because I feel this lecture should be quite straightforward to you. You know, this handout, if you have no questions for handout 10, you shouldn't have too much question for this handout as well. So I'm not going to talk about it in a video, and you could do it, and I will post solutions on Moodle when the due date is passed. And again, it's just for your participation, not your performance. Okay, that's the end of today's lecture.